Good evening. Welcome to Hardlines with Hardliners. Hardlines are uncompromised or inflexible stances on matters. It could be politics, religion, or social issues. This podcast will be anchored on patriotism, accountability, and good governance. We are going to be live every Sunday on various media platforms at 20 hours. Sorry, today we are starting early because we want to introduce this program. I'm not alone in the studio. I'm with a political hardliner known as Mr. Prince Chanda. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much, madam. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm glad you're able to make it tonight.
I had to.
Okay, so briefly introduce yourself. Who is Prince Chanda?
Prince Chanda is a male, aged 40, born on the Copper Belt in the town called Ganaton.
Okay.
In my early stage, as a young boy, my father and my parents relocated to Kasama, Northern Province,
Okay.
where I started my grade 1 there. We settled at a village called Namponda village, that is exactly 16 kilometers into Mbala Road from Kasama roundabout.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did my primary education at Henry Kapata Basic School.
Okay.
That is 9 kilometers from my place. So I trekked 18 kilometers every day.
Wow, 18.
Yeah. So I did my grade 1 and grade 7 at that school. I did something in that particular period. From grade 1 to grade 4, I proved to be exceptional in class. There are people that believed that I was too intelligent, that I was going to have a problem maybe in the future.
Wow.
So to slow my thinking, I was made to skip a grade. So from grade 4, I skipped to grade 6 straight.
Wow.
And then something on that very day when I was made to understand that I needed to go into grade 6, I sat on group 3 for the first time. And I think I cried.
By then it was group 3. You are in grades, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So you have to
great.
be in group 1. If you are intelligent, if you are a bit intelligent in group 2. If you are fairly intelligent, you are put in group 3. So throughout my life, I was in group 1, sometimes almost alone, depending on the marks that were set to qualify one to be in group 1. So that particular day when I was made to shift, because my brother then was getting to hear about my performance and record. So he recommended that I be moved to grade 6 from grade 4. I come from a family of 9, but currently we are 5.
Okay.
Our firstborn in the family was late Cletus Chanda.
Okay.
He worked for Zambia National Tourist Board as a head of marketing.
Okay.
He died in 2003 when I was doing my last grade.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is about me. And of course, that is all I can say. about myself.
That is your primary background.
So
From
there, I
okay.
moved from there let me say, after I did my grade 7 in Kasama, my brother asked me to move from Kasama to come to Lusaka to do my grade 8 to grade 12.
Okay.
So I came to Lusaka, I think it should be 1999, where I did grade 8 and 9 at Mumuni Basic School.
Okay.
But fun enough, I can simply say I must have skipped maybe 2 grades because I delayed to move from Kasama to Lusaka, almost the whole term, first term. And when I came to Lusaka, my brother was always going around the world. So I think the whole term 2, I didn't attend class. So when he came back and said, you cannot go into grade 8, or you cannot go into grade 9. Since grade 8 you have not done, you should just remain in grade 8 when the other guys are going in grade 9. I refused. I said, the fact of the matter that I had to skip a grade. If I go to grade 8 and remain there, those that I left behind will find me. So that should not be a problem. I should be able to handle that myself.
Okay.
So that's how he agreed, and I went to Mumuni Basic School. And one of the people that I found in that school to be my classmate was Eric Chiko Mukoka, the ZNBC sports person.
You've got a good memory.
Yeah, so Eric is the one that received me in class. I came from the village. I couldn't even speak English, because I needed to. I couldn't speak Nyanja. I couldn't speak English. But I was one kind of a boy that was determined to make mistakes. I would speak broken English. I didn't care. So
Wow.
Eric Chikomukoka got about 2 books to go and help me copy the notes. There was also another person there by the name Triza Banda who also got another book to go and copy. Many other friends did that because I was in a marathon to study and catch up, which I did. So when my brother told me, I have asked you to remain in grade 9, you have refused. Therefore, if you fail, you'll be on your own. You go back to the village in Kasama to be with your mother because you have not adhered to my instructions. So I just left. And then we went to grade 9, we wrote our grade 9 exam, and he was out of the country. I think he should have been in Santiago, Chile at that time. Yeah, I think, yeah. So what happened was, he was very concerned to see my results. So he was telling the wife to say, I want to see the results even before they are announced. Because that boy was too determined to say he was going to make it. Mm-hmm. So at some point, my sister-in-law asked me, where is your exam number? I gave her the exam number. She left to have those results checked. When she came back, she just laughed and said, you should pack, your brother's coming, should mean that you're going to Kasama because your results are bad. So I could tell from the demeanor that she was just trying to
pull your leg.
Yeah, so she said, so he's going to call you anytime to tell you when you should leave because your results are bad. Then later on, he called me and said, I'm very proud of you. You have passed. So you are going to Kabulonga. So I told him to say, no, I can't go to Kabulonga. I want to go to a school that could be in the village somewhere because I want to learn to live with people. I feel that my path is not your path. I have a different path. We quarreled over that. So when he came back from where he was, he came back and told me, so I'm taking you to Kabulonga tomorrow. I said, no, I'm not going to Kabulonga. He said, if you're not going to Kabulonga, you're not going to any other school on my sponsorship. So I left it like that. We stayed for a week without talking to each other because I was determined. I told him that's what's going to happen. So a week later, I got a telephone directory. Then we were using telephone directory. Started looking for nearest schools. I checked for schools that are boarding schools nearby. Funny enough, I landed on a school called Mumbwa Secondary School.
Oh.
I got the phone. I called the headmaster of that school that I was from Lusaka. I introduced myself. I'm looking for a place in grade 10. The headmaster says, what did you get? I told him what I got. Then he looked at what he had there and said, okay, fine, you have passed. You already have your acceptance letter, so you can come and get it anytime and start school. So me, I was excited that I was going to school. Then my brother came. Then I told him, I've been given a place. Where is, I said, Mumbwa Secondary School. He said, you are stupid. How can you go to Mumbwa Secondary School? Because you're going to just come out from there as a Mumbwa. I didn't know what he was talking about, but that's what he said.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
so
was
I told
the
him,
meaning.
yeah. So I told him, why do you say so? Because Mumbwa Secondary School tops in those that drinks too much, those that smokes, those that get these fun infections. Mm-hmm. From the records that are given most of the times. That's what that school has been known about. So I told him to say, now listen, I don't want to be in Lusaka to be dropped at school and picked to be brought back home to sleep well and eat well. Mm-hmm. That's not my life. That is your life. I want to go and pursue my life. I know why I want to mix with people. I think I have interest in politics. So he said, okay, then you can go ahead and get your acceptance letter. So he told my other brother to go with me to Mumba to collect the statement, the acceptance letter. Then the following day, when we arrived there, my brother said, you see now what you wanted. I had to go to the dining to check what happens. Mm-hmm. People were eating without washing hands because there was no water. I could look at the ishima, it was looking brown almost. Only beans in Amatotoli, you know.
Yeah.
So I looked at that. My brother said, are you sure you're going to be here? I said, yes, I will. So we came back. I was given what I needed. Then I went back. After that, I completed school from there. Funny enough, or sad enough, when I was doing my last grade, a day before we started our mock exams, mm-hmm. my brother died in Lusaka. He went down as a victim of assassination by suicide, I would call it that way, because after I died, I think I did a number of things that proved to me that he really couldn't have committed suicide. By the time I was coming closer to that, the case was going to be negligence. I was going to sue the hospital and the state for negligence. But when I went to the lawyer to explain why I needed to sue, that my brother never committed suicide, the lawyer told me this was going to be a good case, but any case that has to do with negligence, is supposed to come within 7 years. Beyond that, it's statutory barred. That's how I let everything be. And that's how that issue went. But he died when I was about to enter into my mock exam the following day. So I came back to Lusaka, we buried him, and I went back to school. So the teachers and the headmasters were saying, you cannot go into an exam without writing mock exams. Can we give you this paper that your friends wrote? I said, no, you can't give me. I know I'm going to pass. I'm not going to write exams again of this nature. I will pass without that paper, it's okay. So they tried to compel me. It's okay, we prepare the exam differently, and you write so that we just prepare you. I refused, and I went into grade 12, and I made it. Otherwise, I must say that throughout my life, I've had a number of events that I knew and believed that politics was going to be the way of my life. There are significant things that I went through in my life, from teachers and many other aspects of life.
What are those things that interested you in joining politics?
A lot of things interested me in joining politics as a young boy. Mm-hmm. I joined politics in 2005 under the Patriotic Front. The reason was simple. My whole life has been of service.
Okay.
And I didn't understand exactly why I always felt like that. I had instances in my life where I realized that there was something exceptional about my life, but I didn't understand it. I came to understand it when I had to go back to Kasama after finishing school and living in Lusaka for 15 years to go and look for a teacher who taught me in grade 2, 3, I think, and 4, Mrs. Mubanga, who was a princess to one of the former paramount chief in Kasama.
You have a very good memory. You even remember your grade 3 teacher.
Yes, I do.
If you ask me, I can't remember.
I do remember everything. Everything I do remember, as long as it had an impact on my life. That school where I did primary education impacted me greatly. One of the things that impacted my understanding of education when I was growing was the motto of that school.
Okay.
Henry Kapata Basic School, the motto at that time was in Bemba. It was saying, Mwindengambe uafye. Mwindengambe uafye can be translated in English as, do not let me be insignificant.
That was a very powerful motto.
A very powerful motto, but when I went back there, I discovered that it was changed to something funny, and I don't know why, but for some of us, such things impacted us. When I went there, I looked at the school, I read Mwindengambe uafye, it motivated me. And that specific teacher that I had to go and look for, there is a special way she would discuss with me anything that has to do with education. And there are words, positive words, she used to say to me. That made me to go and look for her. So I went through 4 schools about to go and find her. When I finally found her at one school as the head of department for science, they told me, okay, she's not working today, she's at home. I went to her place. She came out of the house. So I stood for some time. You know, God has given teachers a certain grace. They don't age. You know, she came to our school as a pupil teacher. She taught us as such. But when I went 15, 20 years later, and then she came out of the house, she stood by the door. I think I looked to have grown, and to me, she didn't look to have grown as I thought. Yeah. So we greeted. Then she said, she said, I'm trying to recall. Then she said, finally, she said, Prince. I said, yes. So we hugged each other. And then we sat in the house. We talked about life and everything else. I told her I had to come and see you because you gave me a very good foundation that molded me into the person that I've become or I'm becoming. So she said, no, that was very good. You've always been this exceptional child and all. So after that, she escorted me out. I left. So when I left, she sent me a text. The text she sent me changed a lot of things about my life. That has made me to have a special feeling for teachers. I have great respect for teachers.
What's that message?
She wrote me a message to say, from childhood, you were a very, very intelligent and smart child. You behaved like an adult, yet you were a child. From then, I knew that you were going to be someone powerful in life. That's a message she wrote me.
Wow.
So for me, that changed a lot of things about how I looked at life. Now, that is about me when it comes to education background, where I came from. Of course, when it comes to tertiary, I joined an institution where I worked, I think a year after my grade 12.
Your completion of...
And how I found this job was a special grace from God. You know, when you just finish school and they tell you can easily find a job.
Yeah.
So I was working everywhere to find a job. We knocked so many gates. You are just a grade 12, but you're looking for a job. You're not even sure what exactly you can be given. So at some point, one man who is related to me called me and told me a friend of him, a lawyer, a woman lawyer, had a job opportunity that I needed to go and check.
Okay.
So I went there. I had to dress very smartly.
Of course, when you're
Extremely,
going for a
Extremely
job
smart.
interview, you
I
have
overdressed.
to be presentable.
You know, dressing has been part of my identity. So when I just heard it was a law firm and there's a job opportunity, I dressed like that.
You dressed to kill,
Yes.
to murder.
So when I went in that office, I knocked by the reception because she was expecting me. The one that was introducing me, they knew each other. Then I went into that office.
Okay.
I don't know if mentioning that person's name has to do with anything to do with cyber crime, but anyway, it's an appreciation. This person happened to be a lawyer by the name Jay Banda, Jay Sakala. I think Jay Sakala also. I remember very well, yeah. So when I went in that office, I told her, yeah, I've come for the job opportunity that you have. Then she looked at me and said, the job that I have, you can't work.
Okay.
You can't do. So I said, why? And she told me, okay, I'm told you are the young brother of the late Cletus. I said, yes. And she said, what I have here, I can't give you. I'll be disrespecting the comrade in his death. What I have here is that of a garden boy. So I automatically realized that it's because of the way I've dressed that she has said what she has said. So I quickly said, no, it's okay. I just dressed like this because I didn't know what was on offer. But now that I know, I'll come and dressed for a job tomorrow. She said, no, I am going to tell you something that I know about God. You are going to find something better that fits you, not what I have to offer. That I can't give you. If I had something else, I was going to give you immediately. I was broken in my heart, so I walked out.
I can imagine.
I walked out of the office. I walked a few meters. Then I got a call. Someone called me and said, there is a job opportunity somewhere for an NGO, which is funded by USAID.
Okay.
So I rushed there. I attended the workshops, and I was made to be a volunteer. My first salary was $50 at that time. That was quite a lot of money.
Of course.
As a volunteer just. I think I proved to be exceptional. I was made to be a facilitator. I was trained facilitator by Regional Psychosocial Support Initiative, which is called REPSI. So REPSI trained me in psychosocial support and facilitation skills. So I used to facilitate a lot of workshops. The one that taught me facilitation today should be the director of REPSI by the name, I remember. Yeah, so I went to that organization. I worked there. I rose up to the rank of site manager, where I managed Mutendere site, which covered the entire area of, I would say, Munali. Then I worked well. I was moved to go to Kanyama site. The program was to do with orphans and vulnerable children. We're implementing a program that was called ANCHOR, Africa Network for Children Orphaned and at Risk. Okay. It was being run by Hope World Zambia with funding from USAID. So we had sites in Kanyama, Mtendere, and Chawama. So I started in Mtendere, then I was moved to Kanyama as a site manager. Then from there, I was moved to Chawama as site manager. We had targets. So I made the targets in Mtendere, then I went to Kanyama, I made the targets. The target was to reach out to 11,000 kids. So the target, the team that was there was not moving at a certain speed. Okay. So when I went there, I quickly met the target, and I was moved to Chawama. So I attracted a lot of attention within the organization and the organization that I worked with, because one of the things that I was to do was to conduct community workshops where I was facilitating workshops to try and train community workers in terms of how to implement programs that are do orphans and vulnerable children. So I find that in Mutendere area, I mingled with teachers, community-based organization leaders, and many other people, and everywhere where I went. So now something significant happened in that particular organization.
Okay, that is?
There was a job advertisement within the organization which was supposed to be funded by CEDA.
Okay.
because we were funded by USAID, but the other one that was coming was supposed to be funded by CEDA. So the qualification for that position was supposed to be for a degree order.
Okay.
But the people that were spearheading that had cause to believe that to an extent I qualified for that job despite not having the degree. Based on the way I would do things. So now it's a situation where you sense that because they are set, in works, you have all these rumors that go around, statements and all. So you could tell that those that could have been very interested in that position would talk to those that were vying for the position with certain contempt. But funny enough, we were called to go for South Africa for a conference.
Okay.
When we went for South Africa for a conference, it was the first time that I was jumping on a plane in my life.
Wow.
As a site manager for that organization. We were 7.
Okay.
I didn't have a passport at that time. So what had happened was funny. Destiny has got a way of teaching you certain things or doing things. So what had happened was I didn't have a passport. And the organization was compelled to write one letter, to the Home Affairs Permanent Secretary at that time, who is now NHPS, Comrade Peter Mumba.
Okay.
It was Home Affairs for PS. So he wrote a letter recommending that we be given express passports. And we took the documents and everything else. Funny enough, when the time came for collecting the passport, only my passport didn't come out. It was very interesting. So,
Indeed, it was interesting.
It was very interesting.
What happened? Why?
I love God, and I think I will explain that.
Okay.
So we went to pick passports. My passport was not there. And I queried, they said, no, maybe it's just misplaced with any other passport. The time was limited. They needed to book us a hotel, a lodge somewhere, Airport Road, so that they don't struggle to pick us because it was an early flight.
Okay.
So that was just 2 days between. So I was told to go the following day to check for a passport. I went there. The one that was in charge of passport was Mr. Nyirongo, Citizens and Passport Office. Yeah, Mr. Nyirongo. So I asked the following day. I wasn't given any proper answer by those that were tasked to find the passport and do everything else. Then I realized that there was some activities were going on from my organization. I believe somebody was sabotaging that. But I declared to myself and in my heart that I will travel. Whatever that happens, I will travel. What did I do? I told the lady that was told to find the passport, I said, I'm going to enter into that office and see the overall boss. So I went there. The question I asked was very straight. I told him, the passport that were issued to us, to my team, were sanctioned by the permanent secretary. But my passport can't be found and I'm supposed to travel tomorrow. Who should I hold accountable for this incompetence? That's what I said. As a young boy, but I looked into his eyes and I said that. So he asked me, you haven't collected the passport yet? And I said, no. He said, okay, fine. He called the people that were tasked. Where is the passport for the gentleman? No, we can't find it. Bring the forms. If you have the forms, go and make the passport. The lady and the man said, no, we can't find the forms. The forms were together. You can't find one form. Yes. So the big man told me, let's go and get the forms from the counter. I went, I got the new forms. I filled them in. He signed and they called somebody for commissioning. It was commissioned. My friend had already left. It was around 14. They had even left to go to the airport to the lodge that was booked. And there was nowhere to be seen. My room was even my money was even put there and everything else, but I was not there. My passport was still not. And I decided not to tell anybody how far I was moving in that, because I didn't know who was sabotaging that, and for a reason I didn't understand. That's how I was given the passport. At 17 hours sharp, I walked out of that place. I went home, I bathed. After that, I headed to the lodge where I was told. And when I arrived there, I produced my passport. That's how 7 hours we left for South Africa. The conference was for 7 days. When we were coming back from South Africa, Mwanawasa had just died. And in that conference, we were even accorded a moment of silence for the Zambian team. So when we were coming from there at the airport, our country director came to pick us from the airport. He had 2 letters, funny enough.
Okay.
The 2 letters were terminating our contract with my colleague.
Just the 2 of you?
Yes. So When we got to the airport, we got into these cars. I could see he had 2 letters on his shoulder, on his pocket, in khaki paper. So because of the way we interacted in South Africa and the people that were there and the respect they accorded to all of us, there are those that would come specifically to tell me congratulations. So I misunderstood the letters when I was given. So when we dropped my first friend, he was given. Then 20 hours, I was being dropped because I was staying further. I was staying further than my friend. My friend read the letter and sent me a text to say, my letter is that my contract is terminated. It's not renewed, won't be renewed.
Well, that's very sad. So, sorry to cut you short. Which political party do you belong to?
I am a Patriotic Front supporter and sympathizer.
Okay, interesting. I've a question for you.
Please.
As a Patriotic Front supporter. Currently, the Zambian people are saying there is no strong opposition on the ground. What's your take on that as a PF supporter?
You see, when immaturity and primitivity blend, you get a mediocre kind of leadership. You slide into unprogressive interaction as a country. The ones that are saying there is no strong opposition, I will have one question for them.
Okay, which is?
Patriotic Front as a party, as an organization, has been usurped criminally by a group that is calling themselves Chavingha and the other. They have usurped that political party. First, it was Mao Sampa who got a political party without a convention that is expected to be conducted under the constitution of the PF. He had the backing of the state. We could see that the police were everywhere to make sure that retreat they had is not disturbed. They announced themselves as the leaders of political party, and they went on into changing the registration particulars at Registrar of Society. The lady that was there realized that she received the constitution of the party, which stipulated how a political party needed to conduct a convention, declined to have the names changed for that political party. She was removed from that office. Somebody else was brought in who removed and changed the office bearers of that political party. We didn't have quite too much time before Maos could go back to his senses and began to think maybe he needed to just make peace between him and the Patriotic Front leadership. The moment he was seen with the former president in a meeting, what had happened was Maos was no longer preferred for that position by those that put him there. We saw Chavingha, who is our member of parliament for PF in Mafinga, and the others rebelling against Mao Sampa, who appointed them. And they were given the party, particulars were changed. So the person that tells you that there is no strong opposition, you must tell them. Let them bring back PF to the position it's supposed to be legally. And let them open their mouth and say, there's no strong political party in Zambia. The very people that are saying there is no strong political party in Zambia must let President Lungu, who is a PF leader, a legit PF leader, to walk freely in town, hold meetings freely, attend church freely. Then they are going to tell us that there is no strong political parties. You cannot say there is no strong political parties when there is a political party you are too afraid of. You can't say that. Doesn't make sense.
But President Lungu is not eligible to stand as a president. Why should they bring him back and stand?
President Lungu does not qualify to stand as president. That is according to the judgment that was delivered on the 10th.
Okay.
There was a judgment. There were 4 judgments prior to that. Mm-hmm. So that is just one of the judgments that was passed, which has been contested. Okay. What I will tell you is that I can have a plan for my life, but God will determine the steps I take for the life that He has for me. 7 people in white wigs cannot determine the fate of a man if their thinking or their decision is contrary to the mind of God. I'm a strong believer, and I'll tell you here that anything that has been said, and everything that will be said and done will be done. That fight is not over. God is not man. You cannot use the law to manipulate somebody's destiny. That is what I can say about that.
Okay, since you are Patriotic Front, what mistakes did you learn from your governance, from the previous governance?
I am called hardliner because I don't compromise my political stance on anything on matters. When Patriotic Front was in power, I was very critical of a number of things that were going on under Patriotic Front. I am one person that most ministers hated. They felt I was disrespectful. The things I used to say were injuring them because I'll call some of them corrupt, I'll call some of them incompetent, and I'll challenge some of them, especially on the issues of cadarism.
Okay.
The Patriotic Front made mistakes that were fundamental, but we have learned a lesson, and I believe that our leaders have learned a lesson. One of the lessons that Patriotic Front made was that, to a greater extent, some of the people that were appointed by President Lungu undermined him a lot. They undermined him a lot to the extent that every individual minister, the things that were done under their ministry as approved by cabinet, they began to think that it was their personal doing. Hence, we saw a lot of people aspiring to be presidents. That created, first of all, division within the party. Because when you aspire to be a president and you are a minister, you are going to have a group of people that support you based on their reasons for supporting you. So you get a particular group of supporters. Mm-hmm. When you go to this other person, you also have, so the support base for Patriotic Front within the structures was divided. And this was because of ambitions. Why was that so? When it wasn't clear that President Lungu would stand in 2021, a lot of people started positioning themselves. So the time that the court was ruling that he was eligible to stand, the people that divided themselves into different groupings could not come back as they should have. That is one thing. So internal wrangles, insolent behavior, and ambitions that were not tamed caused the Patriotic Front to lose support base. Cadarism. When you talk about cadarism, I don't even want to call it that. That was organism and criminality and thuggery.
That's true.
Yes.
True.
When you look at the Patriotic Front, you can only hold the Patriotic Front to their manifesto for their failures or successes. There is nothing in the manifesto that talks about cadarism or thuggerism or organism. They have set clear, they set clear guidelines, and then they made sure that whatever that they set to achieve, they achieved. What they didn't achieve, they were going to achieve if they had won the 2021 elections. So the criminality and the organism that was happening, I can't even attribute it to cadarism, because a cadre is the one that is trained in political ideologies of that political parties, and undertakes such activities as such. A minister, a member of parliament, and all these structures, all those are cadres. But the people that were perpetrating hooliganism and the thuggery were not people in those structures. They were just people, criminals that were taking advantage of the same. And personally, I would take up a swipe at Honorable Kampiongo as a Home Affairs minister. And I raised the concerns why I thought PF could not control cadarism. Why? Number one, Honorable Kampiongo was Internal Security Affairs Minister. And he was the one in charge of the youths in Patriotic Front, countrywide. And he was the one in charge of the party security. So you had this situation. So the police could not discipline. The party cadres that were behaving in a manner that endangered security, because their minister was the leader of those. The PF youths were being unruly at certain points, were under Kampiongo as Home Affairs Minister. So that created a problem. I wrote to say, let Honorable Kampiongo remain a minister. Let somebody else be a youth chairman, national youth chairman. Let somebody be national youth security. That is going to be okay. But for now, Honorable Kampiongo is found in an awkward position. These laws cannot be enforced against such characters. So that is one thing also that made us lose elections. Going forward, as Patriotic Front led anything, I think they have. PF has been provoked beyond measure by this regime. Not that PF has become weak, no. PF has got a lot of people that are just holding their breath, hoping that the regime and the Patriotic Front itself sort out the matters that they're dealing with. If it be through the alliances, let it be. But Patriotic Front is not a party that thrives on criminality. Patriotic Front was founded on straight principles of patriotism and the Christian principles by the founding father, Mr. Sata. That's why a lot of us subscribed to him and began to support Patriotic Front. And if you look at the things that PF is going through, everything else is before the courts of law. That should tell you that PF is a law-abiding political party. Because if not, they would have taken law into their own hands and begin to do things that were going to be illegal. As things stand, we have a very delicate situation in the country.
True.
Because we have people that have declared to undertake criminal mingalatos to disadvantage others. But we have institutions like the judiciary which can sort out that mess in one single day, because everything else that is causing chaos and the anarchy within the groupings, political groupings, is before the courts of law. It is up to the court to identify itself well to its responsibility and ensure that matters to do with politics are dealt with so that we should not slide into chaos as a country. We love this country and we want these things to be done amicably through the courts of law, because we have approached the court as a Patriotic Front. Every matter that we're going to talk about is before the courts of law.
Okay. That's interesting. That is, I'm sure a lot of people are listening to you, and then you've given out satiated points. So moving forward, if you are to be re-elected into power, what can you change? What are the mistakes the current regime is making?
From the time Patriotic Front left office, there is nothing that has changed that would affect the progress of what Patriotic Front set to achieve. What has happened from the time PF left power is that the programs that were set for the country are disturbed. The manifesto of Patriotic Front is very clear. Everything that was achieved, and everything that was achieved has been laid down on how they will be achieved. One of the things that have affected this country, anyone who's going to argue with you to say it's a debt, that Patriotic Front borrowed a lot of money. That is why the country is where it is.
Yes.
I differ with that assertion. I existed in the First Republic as a very young boy. In the Second Republic, I was doing my primary and secondary. But I can recall vividly that when Chiluba was elected as a president, he found the economy of the country on its knees, to the extent that he couldn't borrow anything anywhere to develop the country. Institutions of governance were compromised to the core. The firms and the industries, a lot of them were shut. Essential commodities were not in supply when Chiluba became president. The transport sector was in shambles when Chiluba became president. There was UBZ at the time. I remember to go to Kasama from Copper Belt, from Ghana to when we were relocating, we slept, I think, 1 month at KMB. Because the buses are yari foko yaire. Okay? So when Chiluba became president, he went to the UN and told the nations there to say, we have inherited a lot of debts that we cannot even borrow. But we have introduced something significant on the continent, democracy. As young democracy, we beg and ask that the nations we are owing finds it in their hearts to forgive us on the debts so that we can develop and be able to borrow the money. Chiluba did not sing the song of Kaunda having borrowed, Kaunda having messed the country, Kaunda, all those things Chiluba never said. If he said, he did not say them publicly to international forums. He took the country as a head of state, citizen number one, and embarked on that trajectory of fighting the debt cancellation to ensure that the debt is cancelled so that he could borrow to develop the country. So what was Chiluba doing? Chiluba was fighting on the right-hand side and the building on the left-hand side. You understand? So while he was pushing for debt cancellation, he was liberalizing the economy to ensure certain things that could be changed immediately with that decision, where business should be in the hands of the private individuals were attained. Transport was sorted out within 90 days. What did they do? They simply removed duty from luxury buses and let the private sector run the buses. That's how you saw the Euro, we were calling them double deckers, whatever, all those buses came. From that time, the transport was sorted out. You can start off from Lusaka at 6 hours, you'll be having your supper in Mwansabombwe with your favorite Imboa. You can start off from Lusaka at 6 hours or 04, you'll be eating your Finkubala in Kasama at 16 hours. You can start off from Lusaka at 04, you'll be eating your Mbeba in Chipata at 14 hours. You can start off at 6 hours, you'll be drinking your Mavisi in Southern Province, in any part of Southern Province. So that was dealt with. So for me, I take great exception when people want to justify incompetency with excuses that defies both common sense and logic.
So you agree that PF is the cause of economic hardships we are facing today as the Zambian?
The very example I have given you tells you that I do not agree with that. Why? Because by the time President Hakainde Hichilema was assuming office, every essential commodity was in full supply. Was there a shortage of minimum in Zambia? No. Was there a shortage of cooking oil in Zambia? No. Was there a shortage of sugar in Zambia? No. Okay? Second, did we borrow to the extent that the government that came into power cannot borrow? No. The moment they joined government, they started borrowing. America respects administrative integrity. But when you see an American ambassador going openly to say, Zambia is failing to grow because money is being misused, citing a clear example that they borrowed money they were given money by the Americans to buy maize from Tanzania. But the amount they spent on that was way too high compared to the normal price that they should have bought the maize on. That should tell you something. So you have a group of people that borrow money for consumption to eat. And you have people that borrowed money to build infrastructure. PF borrowed money to build infrastructure. They built schools, they built health facilities, they built airports, they built roads. They did quite a number. They expanded the generation of electricity. They did quite a lot of things. They expanded the communication sector. They put up a lot of towers for you and me to communicate to our grandmothers in the villages where they are. They put up too many radio stations and TV stations to ensure that information is going. Sadly and unfortunately so, all that is being suppressed today. So the borrowing by PF achieved things that in the long run, we are going to see development in Zambia massively. Our friends, despite claiming that PF borrowed so much, have wasted more money that they have borrowed than any other regime before them. So it is not possible that one can just simply walk up and say, Patriotic Front destroyed things, that's why things like this. Fun enough, the maize that we are buying at a very expensive price, according to the American ambassador, because they can't challenge him. They can't argue with him to say you are lying, because they know they have information. Why did they buy the maize? Because they find the maize that PF had kept in the depots and sold it. President Lungu listened to the experts who told him there is likely to be drought for certain periods of time in the years to come. So what did he do? He ensured that he told the FRA to ensure that the Minister of Agriculture to ensure that farmers are supported and that each time the farming season food is ready, they should keep food in reserve and continue keeping them with medicine and all. So that in an event that this year Twaingiramo is drought, food for the previous year will supplement that. That was planning. That was what you expect a father in the house to do. But when a father comes in the house who promised that when I become your father, I marry your mother as your stepdad, you take tea with black tea, we take black tea with just dry bread. There will be an egg and there will be milk. Tea is there already. Sugar is there already. Bread is there already. But it's dry bread. No peanut butter, no jam, no eggs. So your stepfather who is trying to propose your mother says, when I come and marry your mother, I will have these things. What do you say to that father who now marries your mother, is enjoying the benefit of being a stepfather who takes now away the dry bread that was there, which needed eggs, and takes away the black tea, which was there and had sugar. What do you call that kind of a father? The irresponsibility we are witnessing today, the failure we are witnessing today is regrettable. Fun enough, people must understand something. I always argue to say there is a very big difference between a government and a state. A government is an elected entity run by elected officials like a president, ministers, and all. A state is an invisible authority that operates through the government. The state has powers which are leased to the government to exercise. So some of the failures by this government are regrettable because it mirrors incompetence on the side of those that are described to be the authority falling under the state. It's like you have a child who's going to school in front of you. You are the mother, you are behind. Why are you behind? You want to make sure the child doesn't fall, the child doesn't get injured. What happens when the child who is walking is confronting a danger that the child can't handle? Are you going to let a bullet hit the child and then it hits you? What do? You step forward. In this case, I'm saying, and I'm saying it boldly, the state must take responsibility and hold this government accountable. The government in place is exercising the powers that are leased to them by the state. The state in itself is inherent. It can exist without government. An example I'll give you is Kenya. Ruto suspended government. Did Kenya come to a collapse?
No.
No, it proceeded. That is what I expect as a patriotic citizen. That's what I expect to see in Zambia. The state must exercise its authority to guide this government and provide proper indicators that they must see when they are crossing the line.
This government has done a lot of things in their tenure. For example, they've restored sanity, like cadarism. There is no cadarism. There's free education. They've done a lot of things so far. Now, as PF, if you were to be re-elected, what assurance are you giving the Zambian people that cadarism won't occur again?
Only the mediocre benefit and praise mediocrity. When you say this government has done a lot of things, I want you to cite something that I can respond to before I proceed to what you're saying.
For example, free education?
Well, that is interesting.
Deployment of teachers and nurses?
Okay. Here's a scenario. I build a house. I put everything. The only thing I've not put in that house are the chairs and the maids to take care of the people that will be staying in that house. Then I die. Then somebody else comes, enters into the house I've built. Oh, this is a 5-bedroom house. It needs 5 beds. The kitchen is big. It needs the stove like this and this and this and this. This house needs a maid. Okay, they put a maid and they put the chairs. Who deserves credit between the two individuals over that development of beds and the employment of the maid? If I was to ask you that question. Well, you don't need to answer that question. I will explain. The Patriotic Front embarked on building schools across the country to try and reduce the gap between teacher-pupil ratio. That's why they built a lot of schools. The PF could not build schools without intentions of recruiting teachers to be in those schools, right? So that credit doesn't go to the UPND. It goes back to PF. The PF built hospitals and clinics, improved clinics to become level 1 hospitals because they had intentions of recruiting more health personnel in order that people have access to health, good health in their localities. By the time the UPND was forming government, they found that there were hospitals that needed to be opened and occupied, and teachers and nurses to be there, and doctors and other paramedics to be in there. So the credit still doesn't go to the UPND. it didn't make sense to me that UPND would have to borrow money to give salaries to teachers and health personnel. That was unwise. I would never do that if I was president.
What were you going to do if you were president?
If I was president, looking at the time that I came into power, I was going to have to borrow money to create industries that will create employment for the youths that needed employment. 30,000 teachers is a fraction. Every year, you should do a research as a journalist. You are, I would tell you that you are a bloody journalist. You should do a research. How many teachers do we have graduate every year? And then you look at how many years it took PF, and how many people did they recruit, and how many people did they train, because there is training and recruiting. So recruiting 30,000 teachers and borrowing money to pay their salary was unwise. It was better to borrow enough money and create industries where employment would be created from different sectors, and also ensure that they created more opportunities where they needed to get revenues than be able to create employment. Because government is never broke. Control 99 always has money. As you are seated, you and me, across the country, money is being collected, revenue is being collected. So that was unwise. They could have systematically recruited teachers and the health personnel without borrowing money specifically for that, but borrow money to come up with industries. That's what I would do if I was to be there. You say going forward,
there's the CDF, okay, that can cushion those industries you're talking about.
Every day we hear of scandals surrounding the CDF. You know what I refuse to do? I refuse to endorse mediocrity. That I cannot do. That I will never do. You talk about CDF. What is CDF? Constitutional Development Fund. Now, you must understand first of all that the issue of CDF is a good idea. UPND did not start the CDF. It started with the MMD. The MMD through Chiruba was giving it was thought that members of parliament spent a lot of their personal monies to the community. So Chiruba realized that these guys needed a cash fund, so that when he's going to the community, he has something in his pocket than dipping into his personal pocket. So they were given a small amount of money as MPs. MPs failed to go into their constituencies because of the burden they have on their shoulders. When they are trying to aspire to be MPs, they don't tell the people that my role is not to build a toilet here. My role is not to pick the waste, fishala. My role is not to buy coffins. My role is to make laws that helps you. They don't do that. They take advantage of the people by going there, apita kofie, ashita koka coffin apali chiriro, muntu wabantu, bamuvotere, and what have you. But when they win, people remain with that mentality. That by MP, eva furi bashite coffin, by MP, eva furi tapali chimbu supermarket, by MP, even the road that's supposed to be for the councillor. So the MPs have always had this burden from the people. So that CDF was for them. So it was being increased throughout by different governments. PF left it at 1.6 million. Now, I'll give you an example. The UPND government bought cars under CDF. They claimed they bought 156 Land Cruisers for CDF for police, isn't it? 156. One per what? Per constituents. They took the cars in the stadium and paraded the cars to try and show the world that they are working hard. That was mediocre. Do you know why? Kawata constituents alone has got how many police stations? Has it got one police station?
No.
Let's estimate how many police stations could be there.
I can't even count.
Maybe 10.
10 plus.
10 plus? Yes. So 10 plus, most of these police stations have got cars each. Most of them have got cars bought by other government. MMD bought those blue Land Cruisers. Almost each and every police station has got a car. So let's take it for instance. If Patriotic France was to say, all the cars we bought for the police countrywide, let's take them to Hero Stadium, do you think they would fit? No. Because that is the police station. Then you have a government buying one car for police officer, for a police in Kawata constituency, one Land Cruiser. And you have people going to dance and beat drums and call themselves to have succeeded. You see what? Sometimes when people are announcing the things they're not supposed to announce, it should worry you and concern you. For me, the CDF is not anything to go by, because what it takes to develop a constituency, 30 million kwacha can't afford to do that. Because just a road alone, one road which is maybe 20 kilometers, costs so much beyond the entire amount of money for a constituency for CDF. Today, ask anybody who is under CDF, who is running CDF, or who is a beneficiary of CDF, or the members of parliament, they will tell you no constituency has received 30 million kwacha. You have heard people under local government say CDF is not being utilized. Do you know why? No. Because you have given too much money to people who cannot handle it. Okay? Now you are recruiting cadres to go and be the ones to implement the CDF and use that money. That is wrong. Previously, before that CDF was increased and everything else, central government was doing projects in constituencies. You understand? If there was a hospital to be built in a constituency, central government would be involved. If it is a police station, Ministry of Home Affairs will have to embark on that project funded by Ministry of Finance. So today, it should come from the CDF. Does that really make sense to you? To me, that defies logic and common sense. So the CDF, we can talk about it. Then you said, what will PF do better?
Of course. What assurance are you giving to the Zambian people?
As PF or PF. As Tonse Alliance? Of course.
Either way.
Listen, like I said, the programs that PF started are on paper. What they achieved and what they intended to achieve in 2021, after 2021, is in the manifesto. First of all, here's an example. Zambia as a country is a cash economy, okay? Zambia depends on the mines, which gives it more revenue to run day-to-day operations. That is why anytime there is a problem in the mining sector, maybe prices of copper go down, we are receiving little money, there is panic on government. But the Patriotic Front began to repossess, I would call, they must have embarked on affirmative repossession. They embarked on repossessing some of those mines so that they can find a lasting solution where government can get maximum benefits from the minerals that we have under our country. They got Mopani, they got KCM, right? When they did that, every Zambian expected that what was supposed to be done going forward is to find a way of ensuring that either a good investor partnering with government comes in so that we can get more money from there to develop our country. What did they do? The PF actually had to tax the money more so that we can benefit. The moment the new regime came up, they gave back the mines in questionable ways. To this day, Mopani issue is a scam. So, it's very easy to say when PF comes back into power, or Tonse Alliance, or PF with Tonse Alliance forms government, it's very easy to see they'll just go back to default button and begin to correct what has gone wrong. Because that's the first step. It's very easy to do that. It will be very easy to do that. We have got 400 people who are experienced, who have been sent home. The other thing that will be done is to reinstate them. They're ones that know how to develop what needs to be developed than the incompetent that have been put there, because they are just put there in order that they are rewarded for the role they could have played in ensuring that President Hichilema formed government in 2021.
What is your take on the constitutional amendment?
I am a student of constitutional law. I find it funny when I'm reading the constitution, when I'm learning these constitutional laws, and I'm being told that when you look at the preamble of the Constitution, it says, we, the Zambian people, have set these rules to govern us in everything that we do and many other things. We, the Zambian people, give ourselves this Constitution to set as the rules that should help us govern ourselves. President Hichilema is involved in the we. It's just citizen number one. because he's involved in the we. Therefore, whatever that he does around the constitution with his government has to be within that spirit of Zambian people deciding and making the decision. Okay? Why am I saying that? A constitution is a fundamental and supreme law that sets the functions that are supposed to be followed by every institution of governance. It sets the relationship between political entities. It sets the relations between the people and the state. Okay? Yes. And how we should be governed. It doesn't talk about the president. No. It doesn't talk about the president. But the president of a country like Zambia swears to uphold, protect, and defend the constitution. It is that swearing ceremony that gives the legitimacy to his presidency. That gave legitimacy to his presidency. So when you talk about constitutional amendments, do they make sense to me? The proposals, they don't make sense because Bill 10 was defeated and most of the clauses that they are trying to go and amend were there in Bill 10. The things that people considered contentious, they refused that they were okay. They needed to be like that. If they want us to amend the constitution, it's okay. It gives them powers to do so as a government in power, but they have to follow the process. The process must be followed. When the process is followed, there will be consensus. Consensus is where all of us agree because it says we, the Zambian people, not I, President Hakainde Hichilema, I, Minister of Justice. That is rhetoric and that is funny. It says we, the Zambian people, give ourselves this constitution. So that's why consensus has to be there. Consensus is where the majority agrees to the undertaking. Now, if there is no consensus, that process will not take place. Do you know why? I, hardliner, I have a right to approach the court and say, I did not agree to this process. Okay? The court has to address my concern as a citizen. And that will be a rigorous process. Now imagine every citizen who is opposed to that process approaches the court. What is going to happen? That's why there has to be consensus. You do not gather kids who don't even understand what a constitution is and tell them to raise hand or by acclamation that we want constitution to be amended. And you say we're amending the constitution. There are many things that are being done that are unacceptable, but how they are being tolerated and being let to go by the state defies common sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, I think we are running out of time, and we are going to continue with Mr. Chanda next Sunday, live on various media platforms at 20 hours on the DOT. So today we decided to start the program early because we are trying to introduce it to you people. So if you've got questions and concerns you want to ask the Hardliners, tune in. We're going to find those contributions and comments on various media platforms. We are going to get back to you and have them answered. Okay, so catch us live every Sunday as we bring you interesting topics on different matters affecting the Zambian people. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Shebbah Musunga. Catch us live next time. Bye.